The arrival and deception. They arrived on a Tuesday morning. The sky rippled like water disturbed by a stone, and through that disturbance emerged the Sothic vessels, massive obsidian structures that seemed to absorb rather than reflect light. News channels worldwide interrupted broadcasts with emergency alerts. Social media exploded with videos of the 7 colossal ships positioning themselves in perfect geometric formation around Earth's equator. For 3 days, they simply hovered, silent sentinels watching from above, while humanity held its collective breath. Military forces worldwide went to highest alert. Religious gatherings swelled to unprecedented numbers. Doomsday preppers nodded grimly at vindication. On the 4th day, they spoke. People of Earth, the message came simultaneously through every electronic device on the planet. We are the Sothic Confederacy. We come in peaceful exploration and mutual advancement. The voice was pleasant, almost melodic, with perfect inflection in whatever language each listener understood. We have traveled across 17 galactic sectors to find species worthy of communion. You are the first in this region to achieve the technological threshold necessary for contact. In Geneva, the hastily assembled Earth United response team watched the main speaker materialize in their conference hall. The being stood nearly 7 feet tall, with silvery skin that seemed to flow like mercury. Its 4 arms moved with elegant precision, and what appeared to be a cascade of copper filaments flowed from its head to its shoulders. Most striking were its eyes, deep violet orbs that seemed to capture and reflect the entire room within them. I am Calaray, Chief Ambassador of the Sothic Confederacy, it said with a slight bow. We bring gifts of knowledge, medicine, and energy technologies that will elevate your species beyond the limitations you currently face. Dr. Elena Reyes, Earth's appointed lead negotiator, stepped forward. Ambassador Calaray, humanity welcomes peaceful contact. However, you must understand our caution. Your arrival was unexpected. Calaray's skin rippled in what might have been amusement. Caution is the mark of intelligence, Dr. Reyes. We would expect nothing less. Allow us to demonstrate our intentions. The gifts came quickly. Within months, Sothic medical technology had eliminated cancer, heart disease, and diabetes. Their energy systems, clean fusion reactors no larger than a refrigerator, solved the climate crisis almost overnight. Global markets restructured around the influx of new technology, and poverty rates began plummeting as energy became practically free. In exchange, the Sothic requested only modest accommodations, permission to establish bases in remote locations across Earth, to study our biosphere, and conduct what they called harmonic geological surveys. They explained these surveys would help calibrate Earth's magnetic field to better integrate their technologies into our infrastructure. Most world leaders eagerly approved the requests. After centuries of conflict, disease, and environmental degradation, humanity was finally entering a golden age of prosperity. Only a small contingent of scientists and military analysts urged caution, but their voices were drowned in the euphoria of alien salvation. Morgan Chen wasn't a conspiracy theorist. As a mining engineer with 20 years' experience studying Earth's geological composition, she simply noticed patterns. While installing monitoring equipment near a Sothic survey site in northern Australia, she detected anomalies in the surrounding bedrock. Vibrational frequencies inconsistent with their stated research, trace elements appearing in soil samples that shouldn't exist naturally. She took her findings to her supervisor, who dismissed them as calibration errors. Undeterred, Morgan installed her own monitoring equipment on her days off, hiding them among the eucalyptus trees surrounding the Sothic facility. 3 weeks later, she had enough data to be certain. The Sothic weren't studying Earth's geology. They were extracting something from deep within the planet's crust, something that didn't appear on any periodic table she recognized. Morgan uploaded her findings to a secure server and contacted Dr. Vikram Patel, a former colleague now working with the Global Extraterrestrial Research Division. 2 days later, Vikram's lab mysteriously burned down. News reports mentioned equipment malfunction. Morgan's access badge to the mining facility suddenly stopped working the same day. Meanwhile, reports of disappearances began surfacing online. Not mass abductions or anything dramatic enough to trigger widespread alarm, just an uptick in missing persons cases near Suffolk facilities. Hikers vanishing in national parks, remote villages finding empty homes with no signs of struggle, fishing boats failing to return to port. When questioned, Suffolk representatives expressed concern and offered assistance with search efforts, but nothing ever came of their help. 6 months after first contact, Morgan found herself in the tiny outback town of Wilcannia, population 549. She'd chosen it for its remoteness and proximity to an abandoned copper mine, where she could continue her research away from prying eyes. The locals were initially suspicious of the city woman asking questions about geological surveys, but warmed to her after she helped repair the town's failing water treatment system. It was there, in a pub lit by the harsh Australian sunset, that Morgan met Jack Danielson, a retired Australian SAS officer who had been asking his own questions about the Suffolk. "They're not here to help us," Jack said quietly, nursing a beer as Morgan spread her data across the sticky table. "I've seen this pattern before, just with human players." "What pattern?" "Resource extraction under the guise of aid. The British did it in Africa. Americans in the Middle East, Chinese in Southeast Asia. Give the locals some trinkets, build a few schools or hospitals, then strip the place bare of whatever you really came for." Morgan frowned. "But the Suffolk technology is revolutionary. They've cured diseases, solved energy crises." "Sure," Jack said. "And how much would you pay for cancer treatment? How much would governments hand over for clean energy? Now they don't have to sell it to us. We're letting them take whatever they want in exchange." But what could they possibly want that they couldn't get elsewhere? The universe must be full of resources. Jack leaned forward. "That's what I've been trying to find out. Whatever it is, it's worth crossing 17 galactic sectors for." Their answer came 3 days later when Morgan's equipment detected a massive energy surge from the nearest Suffolk facility, 200 kilometers north. Satellite imagery showed a circular depression forming around the site, as if the very Earth was sinking. The next day, a Suffolk transport vessel descended toward Wilcannia. No announcement, no warning. It simply appeared over the town center, a sleek charcoal craft the size of a commercial airliner, humming with energy. From its underside emerged a cylindrical beam of pale blue light that swept across the town's main street. Where it touched, matter simply vanished. Buildings, vehicles, even the dusty ground itself was scooped away, as if carved by an invisible hand. Thereafter, the mineral deposits under the town. Morgan realized in horror. The copper mine wasn't abandoned because it was depleted. There's something else down there they want. Jack was already mobilizing the townspeople. Years of brutal outback living had made Wilcannia's residents self-sufficient and wary of outsiders. Within minutes, hunting rifles, shotguns, and improvised weapons appeared from hidden caches. "We'll never beat that technology," Morgan protested as Jack distributed ammunition. "We don't need to beat their technology," Jack replied grimly. "We just need to prove we're not worth the trouble." When the extraction beam reached the edge of town, it met resistance in the form of homemade explosives buried beneath the road. The detonation disrupted the beam's coherence, causing it to flicker and die. The Suffolk vessel hovered, recalibrating. That hesitation was all the town needed. Improvised EMP devices, built from microwave components Jack had modified, launched from rooftops, attaching to the craft's hull. They weren't powerful enough to disable the advanced alien technology completely, but they created interference patterns in the ship's energy field. Rifle fire targeted what appeared to be sensor arrays on the vessel's underside. Most bullets bounced harmlessly off energy shields, but a few found vulnerable points. The ship listed slightly, its perfect hover compromised. From the town's water tower, Morgan activated her own countermeasure, a device that amplified and reflected the exact vibrational frequencies she detected at the Suffolk survey sites. The ship's hull began to resonate, the metal visibly rippling under the assault. The Sothic vessel retreated, rising rapidly into the atmosphere until it disappeared from view. The entire encounter had lasted less than 15 minutes. "They'll be back," Jack said, watching the sky, "with more firepower. But now we know they can be hurt," Morgan replied. "And more importantly, we know what they want." Within hours, Morgan had uploaded all her data to every server she could access, along with video of the Wilcania attack. Initially dismissed as a hoax, the story gained credibility when similar reports emerged from remote communities worldwide, all near sites of unusual mineral deposits, all targeted for extraction. A whistleblower within the Earth United Response Team leaked classified communications revealing the Sothic had systematically harvested rare materials from dozens of inhabited worlds across the galaxy. Their pattern was always the same: arrive with gifts, establish extraction points, harvest what they needed, then leave the planet depleted and often uninhabitable. The Sothic had miscalculated with Earth. No other species had fought back so effectively or disseminated information about their true intentions so quickly. 7 days after the Wilcania Resistance, as it was now being called, Calarai addressed the United Nations General Assembly. Gone was the friendly diplomat. In its place stood a cold, calculating entity. "Your species has violated the terms of our beneficial arrangement," it stated. "The materials we extract are compensation for technologies that have saved billions of your lives. Resistance is not only futile but illogical. We have uplifted your primitive civilization beyond its natural timeline." The Secretary General rose to her feet. "Ambassador, we have evidence that your extraction methods are causing geological instability that threatens our planet's integrity. We request an immediate cessation of all mining activities while we renegotiate terms." Calarai's skin darkened to a stormy gray. "There will be no renegotiation. The Sothic Confederacy has determined Earth possesses quantities of quantum-resonant matter essential to our civilization's continued expansion. You will comply with extraction or face extinction." The threat hung in the air for a moment before the Secretary General responded with what would become humanity's most famous declaration. "Earth is hereby declared a no-fly zone to all Sothic vessels. Any attempt to enter our atmosphere will be considered an act of war. This is not a negotiation. It is our final decision." Around the world, military forces mobilized. Nations that had been enemies for generations now united against a common threat. Sothic technology was reverse-engineered, adapted, and weaponized. The same knowledge that had cured cancer was now being used to identify weaknesses in alien physiology. As the Sothic fleet regrouped in Earth's orbit, humanity prepared for the greatest fight in its history. They had never faced an interstellar adversary before, but they possessed something the Sothic had not encountered in their conquests across the stars: the stubborn, unyielding will to protect their home at any cost. And in dusty Wilcania, Morgan Chen and Jack Danielson prepared to teach the rest of the world how to fight back against gods. The defense and revelation. The first assault came at dawn, 3 weeks after Earth's declaration. 30 Sothic warships descended simultaneously at strategic points around the globe: military installations, power grids, and major population centers. They expected a swift victory against primitive defenses. They were wrong. In the 21 days since the no-fly zone proclamation, humanity had accomplished what would normally take decades. Government scientists working alongside private sector engineers had weaponized the Sothic's own technology against them. The aliens had shared fusion power, believing humans lacked the understanding to weaponize it. They had severely underestimated human ingenuity when survival was at stake. When the warships breached Earth's upper atmosphere, they were met with a coordinated defense grid unlike anything the Confederacy had encountered. Orbital platforms, hastily constructed from repurposed satellites and space station modules, unleashed concentrated bursts of the same energy frequency Morgan Chen had discovered disrupting Sothic hull integrity. General Maya Okafor, newly appointed commander of Earth's Unified Defense Force, watched from the underground command center beneath Geneva as the battle unfolded on holographic displays. Status report, she demanded, eyes never leaving the tactical overlay. Orbital defense grid operating at 89% efficiency, her aide reported. 17 enemy vessels showing hull breaches. 3 have withdrawn to higher orbit. None have reached surface deployment range. Maya nodded. And our casualties. 4 orbital platforms destroyed. Crew evacuated on 3. Platform Sierra 9 went dark with all hands. The general closed her eyes briefly. 23 lives lost already. The first human casualties in an interstellar war. They wouldn't be the last. The Moscow grid is reporting energy fluctuations, another officer called out. Their fusion shields are failing. Redirect power from the Atlantic array, Maya ordered. And get me Chen on the line. Morgan Chen's face appeared on a side screen, her features illuminated by the blue glow of monitoring equipment. Since Wilcania, she had become Earth's foremost expert on Sothic technology, heading a research team at a facility buried deep beneath the Australian desert. The frequency modulation isn't holding, Morgan reported without preamble. They're adapting faster than we anticipated. How long until they break through? Hours, maybe less. We need something new, General. The resonance weapons won't be enough. Jack Danielson's grizzled face appeared alongside Morgan's. The former Special Forces operator now led Earth's rapid response teams, training soldiers to fight with reconfigured alien tech. We've got incoming, he reported tersely. Not Sothic design. Different configuration altogether. Maya frowned. Another hostile species. Unknown, but they're ignoring the no-fly zone. On the tactical display, 12 new vessels appeared, emerging from what sensors identified as localized space-time distortions. Smaller than the Sothic ships, they moved with impossible agility, weaving between the ongoing battle without engaging either side. Hold fire on the new arrivals, Maya ordered. Let's see what they want. The answer came moments later as the unknown vessels positioned themselves in a defensive formation between Earth and the Sothic fleet. A communication request pinged through the system. The being that appeared on screen resembled a crystalline mantis, with faceted eyes that refracted light into prismatic patterns. When it spoke, the translation software struggled to keep pace with concepts that seemed to exist outside human linguistic frameworks. "We are the Varuan," it said finally. "We have observed your resistance against the Harvesters. You fight well for a young species." "The Harvesters?" Maya questioned. "Those you call Sothic. They are known across many galaxies. They locate, infiltrate, and extract core resonant materials from developing worlds. Your planet contains an unusually high concentration of these materials. Why are you helping us?" The Varuan's crystalline structure shifted slightly. The Harvesters disturb the balance. They take what is not yet meant to be taken. Your species fought when others submitted. This interests us. Before Maya could respond, alarms blared throughout the command center. On the tactical display, the Sothic fleet was withdrawing, not in retreat, but in reorganization. They were forming a massive circular formation high above Earth's atmosphere. "What are they doing?" Maya demanded. Morgan's voice was tight with sudden understanding. "They're creating a resonance field. If they can't extract the material surgically, they'll tear the planet apart to get what they want." The Varuan confirmed her assessment. They summoned the conductor. "You have very little time." "The conductor?" Jack asked. "An entity that exists partially outside conventional dimensions. The Harvesters are merely its collection apparatus. The conductor breaks worlds to expedite extraction." As if summoned by its name, space itself began to fold inward at the center of the Sothic formation. Stars behind the distortion stretched and warped like reflections in disturbed water. Through this impossible breach emerged something that defied comprehension, a shifting mass of geometric patterns that somehow conveyed immense age and terrible purpose. In command centers and observation posts around the world, humans watched in horror as their instruments failed to properly register the entity. It existed but refused to be measured or quantified by conventional means. "If that thing reaches Earth's atmosphere," Morgan didn't need to finish the thought. The Varuan's transmission crackled with interference. Your weapons cannot harm the conductor. It exists in multiple states simultaneously. Then what do we do? Maya demanded. We can provide temporary protection, but only your species can create a permanent solution. The resonant material in your world exists because your consciousness shapes it. The conductor harvests not just material, but potential. Dr. Eliza Watanabe, a theoretical physicist who had been silently observing, suddenly stepped forward. Quantum consciousness theory, she said, eyes wide with realization. The observer effect on a planetary scale. She turned to Maya. General, I need access to every quantum computer on the planet, and I need to speak with Morgan Chen immediately about her resonance discoveries. Within hours, a desperate plan formed. If the conductor existed partially outside conventional dimensions, perhaps it could be trapped between them. Dr. Watanabe proposed creating a dimensional pocket, a space between spaces where the entity could be contained. The mathematics checks out, she explained to the hastily assembled War Council. But we need two things: enough computational power to calculate the exact resonance frequency that will open the pocket, and a delivery system that can survive close proximity to the conductor. The first problem was solved by networking every quantum computer on Earth into a single processing array. The second required a sacrifice. I'll take it up, Jack volunteered, his weathered face resolute. My team can modify one of the Sothic shuttles we captured after Wilcania. Morgan shook her head. The dimensional charge needs constant adjustment based on the conductor's frequency shifts. It has to be me. I understand the resonance patterns better than anyone. The argument was rendered moot when the conductor began its descent toward Earth. The effect was immediate and catastrophic. Fault lines worldwide became active simultaneously. The planet's magnetic field fluctuated wildly, causing electrical grids to fail. Weather patterns collapsed into chaos as atmospheric pressure differentials multiplied. We're out of time, Maya announced. Dr. Watanabe, is your device ready? As ready as it can be. But General, whoever delivers this may not come back. The Varuan ships formed a barrier between Earth and the descending conductor, but they were being systematically destroyed. Their crystalline technology, advanced as it was, shattered under the multidimensional assault. In the Australian facility, Morgan and Jack prepared the modified shuttle, loading the quantum resonance device into its core. The plan was simple but desperate. Fly directly into the conductor and activate the device, creating a dimensional pocket that would theoretically trap the entity. I should be the one going, Jack argued as Morgan calibrated the final settings. You're a soldier, Jack. I'm a scientist. This needs precision more than courage, she replied, not looking up from her work. Besides, someone needs to give humanity a fighting chance if this fails. As Morgan prepared to board the shuttle, a transmission came through from the Varuan commander. Your plan has merit, the crystalline being stated, but your technology lacks stability. We will provide an escort to amplify the effect and ensure proper dimensional alignment. On screens worldwide, billions watched as the modified shuttle launched, accompanied by 3 remaining Varuan vessels. They ascended rapidly toward the conductor, which now resembled a swirling vortex of impossible geometries blotting out the stars. Approaching target zone, Morgan's voice came through, remarkably steady. Dimensional readings are. I've never seen anything like this. Reality itself is thinning. The shuttle pushed forward into the maelstrom, the Varuan ships forming a triangular formation around it. Energy arced between them, creating a protective bubble that allowed Morgan's vessel to penetrate deeper than should have been physically possible. At the heart of the conductor, Morgan activated the device. For a moment, nothing seemed to happen. Then, space itself contracted. The swirling vortex collapsed inward, forming a singularity that pulled the conductor into itself. The effect spread outward, engulfing the shuttle and the Varuan escorts before they could retreat. Then, silence, where the dimensional horror had hung in Earth's sky. Only empty space remained. No debris, no radiation signature, nothing to indicate that either the conductor or the brave souls who had confronted it had ever existed. In the aftermath, the Sothic fleet retreated in disarray. Without the conductor's power to break through Earth's now unified defenses, and with their true nature exposed to the galactic community, their position was untenable. 3 days later, as humanity began rebuilding, a small distortion appeared in low Earth orbit. From it emerged a single Varuan vessel, badly damaged but intact. Aboard was Morgan Chen, unconscious but alive, her body somehow altered by exposure to multidimensional space. The Varuan delivered her to the Australian facility before departing with a final message. The young ones have proven themselves worthy of the stars. The harvester cycle is broken. Watch for our return when you are ready for communion. 6 months passed. Earth's governments, having tasted true unity in the face of extinction, formed the first genuine planetary council. Sothic technology, combined with insights gained from Varuan assistance, accelerated human development beyond all projections. Defense remained a priority. The no-fly zone declaration stayed in effect, now backed by a planetary shield grid and an expanding fleet of Earth-built vessels incorporating elements of both alien technologies. In a rehabilitation facility overlooking Sydney Harbor, Morgan Chen sat in her wheelchair, watching the sunset. Her body was recovering slowly from changes even the best physicians couldn't fully comprehend. Occasionally, she could perceive glimpses of possibilities, quantum potentialities that existed alongside conventional reality. Jack Danielson approached, carrying 2 cups of coffee. "The council approved your proposal," he said, handing her a cup. "Construction of the first deep space exploration vessel begins next month. They're calling it the EDF Conductor, if you can believe the irony." Morgan smiled faintly. "Appropriate. We're taking what tried to destroy us and making it our path to the stars. They want you to command it, once you're back on your feet. First human vessel to go beyond the solar system." "Us," Morgan corrected. "They want us to command it. I need a head of security who knows how dangerous the galaxy can be." Jack chuckled. "Still giving me orders, Chen?" "Someone has to." She turned her gaze skyward, where the first stars were becoming visible. "We proved Earth isn't just another harvesting ground. Now we need to show the galaxy what humanity can really do." In orbit above them, the newly constructed defense platforms maintained their vigilant watch. Earth's declaration still stood, a no-fly zone to any who would threaten humanity's hard-won independence. But alongside the weapons and shields, communication arrays now broadcast a second message to the stars. "We are Earth. We have defended our home. We are now ready to join the galactic community as equals, not subjects. Our knowledge and friendship are offered to those who come in peace. Our resistance is promised to those who come as conquerors. The choice is yours." And across 17 galactic sectors, species who had long cowered under the shadow of the harvesters listened with growing interest to stories of the small blue world that had done the impossible. The planet whose inhabitants had not only survived the conductor, but had somehow turned its power against itself. Earth was no longer just a no-fly zone. It was becoming a legend.